Hey folks, welcome to this week's Sunday Catechism. We are on to the sixth commandment. We're still there. There's three on this one, the second one, question 68. So let me read it to you. What is required in the sixth commandment? The sixth commandment requires all permitted efforts to preserve our own life and the life of others. What is required in the sixth commandment? The sixth commandment requires all permitted efforts to preserve our own life and the life of others. I find it intriguing that we're doing this quite a lot just now, well, at a time when I'm very much involved in the abortion discussion. I've just put an article on Christian Today on the lies around abortion, done some fact checking. That's the phrase of the moment, isn't it, for that? So go and have a look at that. But I find it fascinating that question 68, the proof texts that they give are Ephesians 5:28 to 29. Men ought to love their wives as their own bodies, because if you love your wife, you love yourself. For no man ever yet hated his own body, but he nourishes and cherishes it, and so on. We are to look after our own bodies, and we are to look after the bodies of others. The other proof text they give is 1 Kings 18:4, when Jezebel cut off the prophets of the Lord, and Obadiah then took 100 prophets and hid them in a cave and fed them with bread and water. So we do have a responsibility to positively seek to preserve the lives of others. And that, again, that comes back to the abortion thing. It comes in terms of the euthanasia issue. It comes in terms of caring for people who've been injured in battle, and so on. But I also want to think maybe what some of the things that Thomas Watson says. So he talks about how it's incumbent upon a civil magistrate to bear the sword, i.e. capital punishment, against those. For example, he says, a felon having committed 6 murders, the judge may be said to be guilty of 5 of them because he did not execute the felon for his first offence. Now, I don't know if you support the idea of capital punishment or not. I don't think it is unbiblical. I do think, however, in contemporary society, I'm not sure there are enough decent safeguards in for that. But this does come back to why this commandment is you shall not murder as opposed to you shall not kill. So capital punishment is certainly permissible in a biblical sense. I'm not sure it's obligatory, if I want to put it that way. The commandment says, Watson forbids private people to shed the blood of another unless in their own defence, yet such as are in public office must punish public offenders, even with death. To kill an offender is not murder, but justice. And I think where I go with this is those who were executed after the Nuremberg trials. It wasn't murder to kill them, was it? No. And it's not murder when it's done with justice, but a private person doesn't have the right to do it. I don't have the right to go and execute punishment on anybody. The other thing I like about what Watson says about this is that murder is a crying sin. The voice of blood cries to heaven. There are 3 sins in Scripture which are said to cry: oppression, Psalm 12 verse 5, sodomy, Genesis 18:21, and bloodshed. This cries so loud that it drowns all the other cries. The voice of your brother's blood cries unto me from the ground. Well, I think that, we must seek to preserve life. I was intrigued, by the way, just in Watson's discussion of David. David didn't actually kill Uriah, did he? But he did. Through his pen, he got somebody else to do it. I think if you're sitting operating a drone that kills people, you have killed them. If you are commanding people to kill people, you have killed them. And so I think it is very incumbent that if we're going to punish people, it must be just and right. And if we're going to fight in a war, it must be a just war. And I'm a great advocate of Augustine's just war theory. So the 6th commandment tells us we must do all that we can to preserve our neighbour's life. And just to preserve our own life and the life of others. We can't do suicide. We shouldn't be euthanizing the elderly. We shouldn't be killing the unborn. we shouldn't be going around summarily executing people. Everything must be done with justice. That human life is absolutely sacred. I think we live in a culture of death, and I'm coming back again to that abortion issue. To see people exulting in killing human beings and saying it's a human right is, to me, just utterly sickening. Yeah, this commandment still applies in our culture, and may God help us to recognize the value of human life, of every human life. God bless you, and see you next week. Bye.